Hello, everybody. Welcome online tonight. And if you're not live, but you happen to be listening to this later, sending you a lot of love. You're welcome here and looking forward to connecting with you tonight. So, um, certainly where I live in Gauteng, it's got very windy and chilly. The winds of change are upon us. Energetically, we're in quite an interesting space. So we're making our way to the next full moon, and this full moon is bringing with it quite a lot of consciousness around. These things get said a lot, and probably when we work with the moon, my guidance is always to tell everybody to focus on what's happening for you rather than go with the generic concepts you hear. But within the universal consciousness of this full moon that's coming up this week, we've got a sense of renewal, like making things new. Um, there's this deep energy this week of looking at the patterns in our life and saying, are we on autopilot? Are we repeating the patterns? And is it worth shifting those patterns? And so this renewal energy. And so tonight we've got a beautiful chance to look at what needs to be focused on for renewal. It'll really be sort of an essence tonight, they're saying, of provoking opportunities for renewal. And when we think of this word renewal, it's like, what do we need to revitalize or re-engineer or recreate or re-engineer? It is this re-ness component. And the word re is about revision and revitalization. And so all of that is very prevalent at this point in time. Now, the crystal that came forward tonight is the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful selenite. So selenite with Archangel Melchizedek. This is the Lana Fairchild card. You can see the beautiful flower of life pattern behind there. The sacred geometry patterns are very, very awakened at the moment. And sacred geometry is powerful because it holds the codes of the universe. It almost brings order to chaos, is the best way. If you're fascinated by sacred geometry, then I run an amazing course. I say it's amazing because I enjoy it so much, where I teach you about all the sacred geometry patterns and not only how to work with them, what they mean, but how to draw them so you can create beautiful mandalas. And so selenite, here's a wonderful piece of selenite. You'll see it. It's like a pillar of light. Now, what's meaningful about selenite coming forward tonight as the crystal for this week is that selenite was also the crystal that was made known for 2019. So when I did the Soul Compass workshop at the beginning of this year, the crystal for 2019 was selenite, along with kyanite, but selenite. And it's a pillar of light. We can actually, even as I hold it here, you can see as the light catches it, how light gets refracted off of it. And selenite, it really is about this column of light, and again, this renewal. What do we need to wash over us with light? What do we need to bring forward so it gets cleared up? Like we can, it really is, we hold on to so many things, and what needs to be released so that we can revitalize ourselves and bring about renewal. And so selenite, beautiful crystal that you can work with. It comes in many different forms. This is a small piece of selenite. You can see it looks like it looks like liquid light, and essentially that's what it is. It's light in form. And so a lot about embracing our light. So welcome online. If you're here, it's lovely to connect with all of you. It's one of my favorite times of the week is to do these readings. If you belong to any spiritual groups, then please feel free to share this with them. It's a wonderful mechanism to get these messages out, and there's a real calling for us to be creating light tribes across the universe, and bringing light walkers and light workers together. So I'm going to start off, as always, with a weekly message from Spirit. So that's sort of like the universal reading. I connect with my guides and see what is available for everybody this week. So what do we need to pay attention to? What support is available for us, and what opportunities exist for us this week? And then from there, we'll go into doing readings. It's also useful to know that you can buy sets of the cards. There's a couple. There's a few that are available for pre-order price, because the cards are officially only available in August, but there are some available at a pre-order price, which is 100 Rand discount. So if you want a set of cards, you can get them there. And also, if you want to start looking for your own personal messages, is I have a podcast and I release messages every Tuesday, which is about the cards. The podcast is called Pick 3 Cards. You can go and pick your own cards and listen to a sort of 5-6 minute description of the card with some exercises attached to it. So that's a very cool thing to do. Please subscribe and let us know how it goes. Right, so, all right. Oh, Renee, I just caught your message there. My daughter also went through a breakup on Saturday night. I can't, she's inconsolable at the moment. Right. So let us see what the weekly message is, and then I'll come back to doing the one-on-one readings. So the first card, as always, as you connect in with this, and you can listen to this tonight and or at any time during the week, or in fact any time you seem to be drawn to this message, is what do we need to pay attention to this week? And this card, I think it was there last week as well. Let yourself feel the pain. Let yourself feel the pain. Is a really, really, really important message in this. We're just talking about the heartbreak. Renee was talking about her son going through a terrible breakup. My daughter had a breakup on Saturday night with her boyfriend and is absolutely heartbroken. And we need to understand that what happens for us immediately is every part of us is trying to get away from the pain. We just want to feel better. We just want to cope. And so we very quickly come up with distraction techniques, avoidance techniques, all sorts of things to try and feel better. And the minute we do that, we almost put like a plaster on a very deep wound. And it looks like it's healed, but it hasn't. And so that wound kind of festers internally and starts to create the protective mechanisms of our hearts and the defense mechanisms and all the things that we put in place. And so one of the things that's really important is to sit in the pain. The pain in itself alchemizes at some point to wisdom. And so this is not the only way to grow. We do not need to only grow through pain. But when things and events happen in our life, permission to feel the pain allows us to alchemize it into growth, into learning, into wisdom. It's a little bit like that, the seed outside, it cracks open for growth to happen. And we want to stop it. So now we need care and we need compassion, we need patience, we need gentleness, we need kindness, and we need to know that pain can come in rhythms. This can be like a wave in the ocean, and anybody who's gone through pain will know this. But it's really important to allow yourself to feel it. I posted a thing on my page this morning because I can't agree with it more, that there's so much false positivity and spiritual principles that try and get us away from facing our pain. Oh, you must be positive. Don't get upset. Don't get angry. Don't do these things. But there's essentially a human experience, and there's compassion in the pain. It allows us to learn about this human experience. Now, it's a very different thing if we get trapped in the pain or what our response to the pain is. Most of us do not know how to be comforted, supported, and loved through pain, or how to give ourselves or others compassion through pain. These are two key ingredients for pain to alchemize into wisdom. We need patience and we need compassion. And compassion means I don't try and fix you. There's a beautiful meme that Brené Brown has, and she really is the guru on vulnerability and dealing with our pain. And she says, when somebody's going through pain, empathy very seldom starts with the words "at least." Yeah, so I love that because it's so practical and useful. Is that if somebody's ill, or at least you've got time, or at least you have another child, or at least you've got a roof over your head, or at least it's not that bad. Whatever we do that says at least is diminishing somebody's experience and trying to take them out of it, and almost we have guilt now about the pain. Whatever you're going through, it's okay to feel it. And the best way to feel it is to have some sense of self-compassion. And that means put your hands on your heart and say, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I honor you, and allow yourself to learn about yourself through the pain. So what support is available for us this week? I smile, which is unfair when you haven't seen the card, but raise your vibration. So the relationship between feeling your pain and raising your vibration is a really important thing to notice. Remember, I said it's full moon, and there's this opportunity for renewal and recreation, re-energizing, and that means releasing, so that there's space for that. And raising our vibration means that we can elevate ourselves to a new frequency. And frequency is what we use to create, and it's also what we contribute to the mass consciousness. Now, if we think about group consciousness, we think about the world, we think about how much pain has been suppressed in the world, how much unexpressed pain there is in the world. Yeah? How many people are sitting suppressing their experience, and that lowers the vibration. By feeling it, we crack it open, we bring love to it, we bring compassion to it, we bring kindness to it, we can raise the vibration. Earth, Gaia, and Mother Earth has a lovely way of helping us release trapped pain. Yeah? It's called earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, all these things. It's like this eruption of everything that's been suppressed. It needs to come out and be dealt with. And we don't need to wait until there's a volcanic eruption. If we learn how to work with pain, honor pain, notice it, then we wouldn't have to suppress it. If we didn't have to suppress it, there'd be a lot less depression in the world. Depression, largely, I'm going to be doing a course on the gift of emotions, but largely there's various types of depression, but largely depression is a suppression of truth, a suppression of words, a suppression of pain, a suppression of talents, a suppression of gifts, and it gets suppressed, and the healing is in the expression of it, and this helps us raise our vibration. And so there's a great opportunity with this full moon to look at, what do I need to honor as my experience? What pain do I need to embrace as part of my life, so that not that I can let it go, it's impossible, so I can honor it. And I can honor it like the teacher and the healer and the gift that it is. Again, I'm going to make this point because it's a really important point, because I see many clients getting addicted to pain. There's no need to get addicted to pain. It's not the only way to grow. Joy is equally a profound way to step into your spiritual growth. But when pain happens, it needs to be honored. Yeah. And so then I can't believe these cards. I always say I can't make this shit up. The card of what opportunities exist for this week is express yourself. So I was just talking about this in terms of the depression, the suppression, the pushing things down, and how do we bring this up to express ourselves more. I also love this card personally because I just set up with a group of girls that were doing some amazing work in terms of the 5D chakra system. We just set up a drumming or a mantra and drumming evening for Thursday night for us to connect with some of that energy. So this card is very relevant there. When we look at this card, it comes from the sacred geometry symbol here is the Vesica Piscis, which is two circles that overlap to create sort of a portal. And there's a portal for growth that happens. And so expression is anything you do to speak your truth, dance your truth, write your truth, play with your truth. You are born to be noticed. You are a beat in yourself. You're part of the harmony of the universe. When we look at the harmonics of the universe, and we look at every single one of us as souls has a contribution. Our voice, our steps, our movement, our use of our talents, all of these things contributes. And when we hold ourselves back, when we make ourselves small, when we suppress ourselves because we're scared of being hurt, yeah, then or for whatever, or being rejected or whatever it is, we're withholding our contribution to the universal cause. And so how do you make a difference in the world? This is the card of how you make a difference in your world. And expression is a beautiful thing. You don't have to speak to express yourself, you know. And I'm not going into some kind of interpretive response, but this is an expression of our truth. I was working with a young girl, and she was in a corporate setting, and she would come into the sessions in this black suit and very prim, very proper, but every part of her energy was quite funky and creative and out there. And I said to her, like, the way you dress doesn't match the way I experience you. And she says, well, that's because I'm scared that, I'd get too much attention. And all she started doing was started to bring in small ways of expressing herself through her dress. She would wear like these bright beads, or she would have funky shoes, or she would do something. And it was amazing to see her path to authenticity with those small changes. The one day I eventually got there and she had this huge afro hair, and she's like, I'm here now. Now people can see who I am. So we can express ourselves just by the way we show up, by the way we dress, by the way we use our words, by the way we move, by the things we pay attention to, by the way we smile, and the people we connect with. These are ways of expressing ourselves. And so that's the opportunity this week, is to look at what's a way that you can express yourself in the world that's going to be more reflective of your truth, of your authenticity. And in doing that, you would already have healed the pain, because it would have been a part of you that would have been keeping yourself small. So there you have it. What a beautiful reading for this full moon. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Right. So let us do some readings and see what it is that needs to be released or renewed or reflected on or re-energized or recreated. What is it that you need for tonight? So those of you that are new here, welcome. It's always lovely to connect with you. Just keep asking for a reading. I don't really scroll back up. If you're not chosen, it's because I get connected to those that are going to have messages that support the greatest good of everybody listening. So if I don't call your name, it doesn't mean there isn't a reading for you. So just pay attention to that. All right, let us see. Lucy Page. Lucy Page, you are first tonight. Please may I have a reading in hearts. I love hearts. Please feel free to heart this, like it, share it. If you find that you enjoy these readings, please be so kind as to do a review on the page. Any of these things are very useful for me. All right, and for all of us, yeah. Okay, Lucy. I'm not sure if I did a reading for you last week. I can't remember. Get intimate with your fear. Get intimate with your fear. Okay. All right, so the way your guides come forward, we all have a male and a female guide, and they kind of take on various shape-shifting forms to connect with us. And the way that your guides are coming forward, it's your female guide coming forward. She comes forward, but she has her back turned. So if you imagine somebody coming in, and the minute they come in, they turn their back. And it's like this idea of turning their back on you. And this is bringing forward the energy of abandonment, or the fear of abandonment, the fear of being left alone, of not being connected to. And she brings forward this energy, and as she turns around, it's like when she turns around, there's this I'm trying to describe it to you. It's the most beautiful energy. She turns around and like she's just opening up. And as she opens up, there's like this energy that just flows from her. And she says, she comes forward with this message of to notice where you are turning your back on people that may want to be loving you, where you are turning your back, and you turning your back in a way to try and protect yourself. It's the fear of others turning their back on you means that you turn your back on them first. And so this idea of if I protect myself, then I won't get abandoned or rejected, is that when you turn, you will find there's a lot of people that are turning, looking at you and wanting to share love with you. So there's this idea with this full moon, and they're showing me that they are going to be doing the readings tonight around what do we need to pay attention to release and renew and recreate and look at in this renewal energy of the full moon coming up this week, is what do you need to do to turn and face the light, turn and face love, turn and face the connection and the intimacy that is available to you in your life. You don't need to turn your back to it. So I hope that makes sense to you, my darling. Feel free to give me a shout if you need more. All right, Cheryl, I saw right. Just keep asking. I see there's lots coming forward. I'm glad it makes sense, Lucy. All right, Cheryl. Okay, I did see your message earlier, so let us see. I'm going to pull a card for you and a card for your husband. I know that you sent me a message earlier, so I have some context there. So let us see what comes up for you there. All right, so there's a card for you, Cheryl, and a card for Owen. Owen is Cheryl's husband, for those of you wondering what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so the card that comes forward for Owen is acceptance will set you free. What's coming forward here, and you know, it really is more through you for Owen, so it's got to do with your energy relationship with Owen, and you know, as he goes into facing this, there's a lot around acceptance. Firstly, accepting help, accepting support, accepting the healing. You know, in so many of the readings I do, when it comes down to something to do with physical health, and those of you that anybody's battling with physical health, the most important energy is one of receptivity, to receive healing, receive love, receive care. This is the most powerful healing energy we have, is receptivity. And to receive requires you to accept. Now, so much of us, when we become ill, we want to fight. We want to fight it. We want to do these things. We want to be strong. We want to like conquer it. But this is the opposite energy of healing. And so this gentleness, this softness of acceptance, of receiving, is really important for him. So the calmness of allowing himself just to receive. The card that comes up for you is step into your full power. Step into your full power. Now, the way your guides come forward around the step into your full power is, it's not the power of aggression, it's not the power of conquering again, it's this power of it's the power of serenity, I think, is the way they're wanting to talk about it. Like embracing the sereneness, the gracefulness of what it is that you're needing to flow with through this. And so it's remaining in the sort of femininity of this, remaining in the feminine power, your own healing abilities, and not that you're his healer in any way, shape, or form, but to notice that you don't need to step into resistance. So both these cards are very similar in the sense of releasing the need to be fighting is to go into the place of softness. Let softness be part of what supports you through this, and that sort of grace and that serenity, and the surrender. So I hope that makes sense for you, my darling. Sending you both a big hug and love, and all the best for tomorrow as he goes into surgery. Right, Renee, my son has gone through a very bad breakup and is heartbroken. I know, I'm feeling all his pain and don't know how to help him. He's up all night crying, please help. Oh, Renee, it sounds like your son and my daughter. I mean, my daughter's been exactly the same. I also have been up all night with her crying for the last month. Okay. All right, so let us see. The card is coming for you, Renee. They're saying this isn't a card for him, it's a card for you in terms of how you can support him and what it is that you need to know at this point in time. I think the first card is going to be, let yourself feel the pain. It's a card from earlier. All right, you need to take the first step. Let me just check, because I just want to check this is the card for you. All right, so the way your guides come forward around this is that I just want to pull another card they're giving me. Okay, all right, I understand. So the other card that's come forward, they want me to give you both these cards. You need to take the first step, and happiness is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. So what this means is that you can't shift this for your son. And this is obvious, and a terrible sense of guidance, is that this heartbreak that he's going through is something that he needs to process and experience and all these sorts of things. And so sometimes the best thing that we can do is let it be. And let it be the heartbreak that it is, and that facing the difficulty in it is probably the most important thing to do. It is excruciatingly difficult for any of us to watch somebody we love in pain and not try and fix it. But the comfort comes in permission, like the permission to experience it for as long as he needs to. But I mean, if we're sitting here in 6 weeks' time and he can't get out of bed, then that's a whole different ballgame. But that's not what they're showing. And he has... it's important that he reflects on what happened in this relationship. This relationship is a big teaching relationship to him, and it's important for him at some point to reflect on what happened and what part he played in that. What were the signs he didn't see, or not that that's a thing to notice, but it's almost there's something that's been going on that he hasn't been prepared to deal with, and he needs to deal with it. And so letting him grapple with it and not trying to protect him from it, not trying to get him to feel better sooner than he needs to, is allowing him to experience it. And if he needs to talk about it, helping him find the place where he needs to talk about it. Not that he's wanting to do that yet right now and good at that. So they're saying you're doing everything you can do to support him. Step back, which is actually the way they were trying to get this in this card, which is the best card they could come to. Step back a little and love him, and let him deal with this, let him face this. There's stuff for him to learn in this experience. There's stuff for him to learn in this experience. So I hope that gives you some perspective. Not always easy to hear. All right, okay. Evelyn Murphy-Legg. Now, those of you that are new online, just keep asking. I'll try and do as many readings as I possibly can. The readings I do are not predictions of the future. They are deep guidance from your guides around what needs to be healed in your life. All right, Evelyn, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Okay. All right, so the way your guides are coming forward is like, I don't know how to describe this, but there's this energy that's coming forward around, like, you know when we accidentally do something. So something accidentally comes out of my mouth because I'm not thinking, and so it just slips out. Or I do something and I realize afterwards, oh my word, that might have had this impact. Or there's sort of a reflection process that suddenly we see something we said or did, and we look at it through a different lens, and we're like, oh, wow, that could have been like misconstrued. And then we have a tendency in that moment to want to try and explain ourselves. And in the explaining ourselves, we can sometimes almost dig a hole that's a little bit deeper. And this is the kind of energy they're bringing forward, is that sometimes, sometimes what you've said or done needed to be said or done. And trying to explain it so that somebody else is comforted or okay with something is not always useful. You kind of got to let it be. Sometimes we say things and it hurts, or sometimes we do something and it has an impact on people. And then we try and justify that in a way to try and make it better. But we almost sometimes just need to sit with what it created. And when it created the outcome that we're in, we need to just face it and deal with that. And so there's this kind of tendency for you to want to make things right. And a lot of analysis that goes into, a lot of experience that goes into trying to make things right. Innocent things sometimes, You know, it could be innocent things, it could be anything, but there's this idea of trying to make things right that kind of holds you trapped in some level of self-reflection, and that self-reflection actually brings with it self-persecution. This tendency for you to analyze things you're doing to see if there's something wrong with it so that you can then go and make it right. Your guides say that this is something you've been doing intrinsically for a very long period in your life, and whilst it serves in many ways, it doesn't always serve because there's a sort of sense of something incorrect about you and the deep beliefs that come up around that. And so they're kind of going like, you're a good person. Yeah. Even good people say some random things. And there's nothing wrong with anything. There's nothing to make right. Every moment is exactly the way it needs to be, and that can flow into the next moment. So there's no need to reflect on your past and try and make it right now. There's an opportunity for you to look at what has happened in your past and how it got you to where you are, and just honor this moment and do what you want to do in this moment. So there's something about releasing any too much reflection on the past to make things right in the current. This energy is not serving you at actually living the freedom that you desire. When you see this card, you can see your heart is trapped in a cage. And so this sort of allowance of like, it's okay. Anything that needs to be made right, I'll do it now. If there is something to be made right, I will do it now. But I don't need to find it to fix it. And there's nothing to do around that. So I hope that makes sense for you, Evelyn. It seems to be quite contextual, so just you may need to play with that reading a little bit and see what comes up for you there. All right, Melanie Boardman. I'd love to know what's going on with me at the moment. All right, what is going on with Melanie at the moment? Let us see what is going on for you, Melanie. Just remember, the readings that they're giving tonight is a lot about this full moon energy and releasing and renewing yourself into that. So some of the messages may be sort of like really deep things that we need to look at. Pleasure, Evelyn. I hope that it resonates for you. All right, Melanie. Let us see here. The card that's come up for you is we are all connected. You are not alone. We are all connected. You are not alone. All right, Melanie. I mean, the question that popped in straight away when I connected in with you is like this sense of aloneness, or the sense of, feeling alone in the world, not knowing where to turn, is an illusion, really. The aloneness is got nothing to do with other people or feeling connected to them. It's got a lot more to do with connecting to your own spirit and connecting to your heart. There seems to be for you, Melanie, a very strong calling to be working with spirit. And it's like spirit's trying to get your attention. I'm not sure how old you are, but it seems to be there's something happening that in the soul blueprint you have, the soul contract that you have, there's a calling to wake up to your gifts. And these gifts include working with spirit. I'm not sure if that's working from a mediumship perspective or with channeling or working with spirit. There's something around waking up. So 36. So the soul works in 7-year cycles, right? So 35 to 42 would be a wake up period for you. And spirit is really trying to get your attention. Certainly trying to get your attention. Like there are gifts, and there is a calling for you to use your gifts to work with people in a much stronger way than you probably are at this point in time. So what's going on for you? It's like there's I remember when I was shaken up to wake up to do this work. I worked in corporate for 17 years. I was in finance, I was in merchant banking, and I had my own coaching company. And then when I was resisting doing the work, spirit came knocking properly, not because they're doing it to me, because it's part of my destiny, it's part of my soul blueprint to do this work. Sure, and did I resist it? Did I resist it? And and so it's a real calling to start paying attention to, what are you seeing? What are you noticing? What do you know that you just know? Connecting with your intuition. Melanie, if you want to set up for a full reading, you can do that. I'm not sure if you're interested. They're asking me to share this, so I'll share it with the group. I run a course called Lifting the Veil, which is 8 modules of courses of how to work with spirit. We're actually starting in 2 weeks' time for the 2019, and there you learn everything about how to work with every aspect of spirit that you possibly want to work with. It's a really, really profound course. They're saying that's a possibility, but otherwise it's really just following the calls. If you, whatever you kind of being shaken up to do, it really is about paying attention to these things. Feel free, if you're wanting to do a full reading around that, to get in touch with me. But you are being woken up, because you're a healer soul, and it's time for you to start noticing your gifts, they're saying. All right. Melanie, if you send me a message on Facebook, then I will send you the information about the course. If anybody else is interested, you can have a look as well. All right, let us see. Somebody was catching. Natalie, how are you doing? You've been having a rough time. Pleasure, 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 Melanie. It's time, my darling. It's time to wake up. Time to wake up. All right, Natalie, am I on the right path? You cannot be on the wrong path. And then I get this card. Okay, trust your inner knowing. And so the reason I laugh is because I say you cannot be on the wrong path, and this is the path all about the compass. It's the path of truth, the path of what is good for you. Now, if you're wanting to know if you are making decisions that serve your highest good, or if you're making decisions that serve your lowest good, it's got to do with the feeling. And the best way I can describe this to people is that if I feel lighter, then that is the path that serves my light. If I feel heavier, then that is the path that serves my heaviness. Now, please understand that emotion confuses this, because I may make a decision to exit a relationship, so to speak, and that's going to make me feel lighter because I know this person's draining me. But the emotion of the transference, of the transformation, that's difficult. And in that place, I've got to ride out that wave of emotion. But at the heart of it, there's a lightness. There's a knowing that it's good for me. There's a lightness. Now, this feeling of lightness or heaviness is a connection to our truth. It's a connection to our spirit. If we're wanting to check our own decisions and check which way to do something, if we just ask the question, does this make me feel lighter? If I imagine doing this, I imagine this having rolled out, am I lighter at the end of it? And you will get the answers of whether you are lighter or heavier. You can just feel it in your body, but do know that emotion confuses us. So if you make emotion the truth of your life, if you give too much emphasis to the emotion, you say that the emotion is the information. The emotion is not. The emotion are the waves of the ocean. It's got to float. So what's happening for you, Natalie, is that you are using the emotions, the waves of the ocean, to make decisions. And then that chops and changes and it does things. And so it is a confusion that kicks in now. Because, 1 minute it's this, and the next minute it's that, and the next minute it's this, and the next minute it's that. We've got to go deeper than the emotion to the heart of you and say, does this make me feel lighter? Does a person make me feel lighter? Does a job make me feel lighter? Does a choice make me feel lighter? Not the emotion, the outcome. And they're saying, put your hands on your chest and on your sort of solar plexus and sit with it and go like, what step, if I took that, would make me feel lighter? And then there will be emotion. We can handle the emotion. We can learn to deal with the emotion. But please know that emotion is a red herring. It is not the thing that informs whether the choices are good for us. If I had to give a very practical example, and one of the biggest decisions I ever needed to make was to get divorced, every part of me knew It was a decision that served my lightness. The process of getting divorced was traumatic, but the knowing it served my lightness was the thing. And so that's what this knowing is connecting with, does it make me feel lighter in the long term? Yeah. So I hope that makes sense for you, Natalie.